What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Keep It Kula Podcast. My name is Jaclyn, and today I have on one of my favorite personalities in sports, and especially on the Blue Jays. Welcome to the show, host and broadcaster Jamie Campbell. How are you doing today, Jamie? Thank you for coming on.
Yes, I am well, Jaclyn. Lovely to see you.
Thank you. I really appreciate you coming on and chatting with me. I know I reached out to you back in May before we knew what to expect with this Blue Jays team. I know I only have you for a little bit, so I just want to jump in quickly. We had breaking news last night that Dylan Cease has signed with the Blue Jays. What does this mean going forward with Bo Bichette, with the pitching rotation, with Kyle Tucker? Like craziness right now.
Oh, my goodness. First, let's enjoy this, right? Because this is, to a degree, unprecedented in the time frame in which this occurred. For the Blue Jays, before the winter meetings have even begun, to lock him down to such a lengthy contract is something that I don't recall ever happening in my time covering this team. And I do recall, obviously, in the past, impressive free agent signings that might go all the way back to, say, A.J. Burnett when they added him to be in a rotation with Roy Halladay.
Yeah.
And in recent years, Hyunjin Ryu and Yusei Kikuchi and Kevin Gausman and all of that stuff. But to see one of the premier pitchers in the game in November sign on long-term with this team is telling. And what that tells us is that the impression that the Blue Jays made as a whole in this past season has obviously resonated across Major League Baseball with players, right? They don't see Toronto as a foreign destination. They see it as an attractive destination. And I think the signing of Dylan Cease proves that. And I doubt this will be the last big signing you see from this team.
Definitely hoping that, everyone is waiting to hear about Bo, but as we know, baseball, it's a long off season and we don't tend to hear things so early. So the fact that I see last night in November that we just signed a huge contract over $200 million for 7 years is very exciting. So Blue Jays fans are smiling again. Another pitcher that signed back with this team quite early was Shane Bieber. 16 million, didn't test free agency. What does that tell us about the kind of guy that Shane Bieber is? Not just a player, but just as a person in general, coming back to a team that ended up losing the World Series.
Again, what it does is it solidifies this notion that the impression made competitively by this club has obviously worn off on Bieber as well. Because when he was acquired midseason, well, not so much midseason, you know what I mean, at the deadline, and was coming back from a long time off with Tommy John surgery, who knew what to expect from him, right? And who knew how any performance by him might impact his decisions going into free agency. And for him to accept the qualifying offer of the Blue Jays and to stay with this club after watching them proceed right through until, sadly, the final inning of the 7th game of the World Series, obviously left an impression. He obviously enjoys working with Pete Walker and working under John Schneider, obviously enjoys the teammates. I think you could see that as the season progressed, just how he was able to immerse himself in that clubhouse culture. And he obviously sees the same thing that most of us hope Bo Bichette sees. And based on my discussions with Bo, I know he sees this. This is a darn good baseball team. And with Vladdy locked in for 14 years beginning this coming season, with the prospect of Trey Savage pitching for this team long-term, with the number of prospects that they have coming up, with this foundation of being super competitive. I know people were heartbroken over what happened in the World Series, but I like to remind people who stop me for hugs on the street that they could be back next year in the Fall Classic. They could be back the year after that. This could be sort of the American League's version of the Los Angeles Dodgers here. And I think Bo recognizes that if offered a competitive salary, I'll be shocked if he turns it down.
I would be shocked. I think all of Toronto will feel that. I think they will mourn that if Bo does leave because he's such a part of this identity. And, another person, obviously, who's a part of this identity is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And Toronto sports is definitely in a fun spot. I have my Raptors jersey up there. The Raptors have been fantastic so far this year. The Leafs have big names. But looking at Toronto names in sports, has Vladimir Guerrero Jr., is he officially the face of Toronto sports, of Toronto for the next few decades, maybe?
Well, he's doing a nice job of that, right? He's I don't mean to, subtract from the efforts off the field from other quote unquote superstars in the city of Toronto. But I've been around Vladdy for a long time now, and I see the way he interacts with people when he's not playing. And I'm sure if you're at a game or you watch a broadcast and you see him, signing autographs as often as he can, tossing 10 or 15 baseballs into the stands before every game. He's a remarkable individual in that he can carry the weight of expectation as he does. And we both know that weight is quite substantial given the expectations of performance. And at the same time, find time for as many within the fan base as he possibly can. It's rare to see him turn down an autograph request. It's rare to see him not smiling and laughing, whether that's with a teammate, an opposing player, or somebody in the stands. And, I've seen superstars come through this particular city, and not all of them can carry that kind of personality. Not all of them have it.
I 100% agree.
And I think he's a gift in that regard. He might not hit the home run when you want him to, but my goodness, during the postseason, he certainly did. But otherwise, he's just an incredible human being when it comes to making himself accessible to the fan base as often as he can.
Yes, Vladdy is definitely a fan favorite for many. And even watching a game, my mom will say, I'm not enjoying this. I'm not seeing Vladdy smiling right now. And I'm like, it'll come, because we are so used to seeing Vladdy having a smile on his face no matter what, and kind of being that positive outlook for everyone, no matter win or lose. He is that guy, and it's so nice to have him here as a superstar. And as you said, there's been many different stars who've come into Toronto, but they don't lead the way that Vladdy does. And that's just how it is with the Blue Jays, I think. And even with your team, with Blue Jays Central and the broadcasters, you guys all just seem like you love each other and you love the city of Toronto. And that makes so many of us just love Toronto. And before I let you go, because I know I don't have you for a lot of time, I want to talk about you in your career. You started off back in 2002 with this team. I wasn't even 1 years old yet. My birthday is in December. I'll be 24.
Oh,
wow. So, going back for my whole life as a Jays fan to now being here all these years, was this year the most special because of the way that they played, or just the team that you were a part of?
Oh, no question. There's no question about that. I'm not sure. It would be wonderful to see this year replaced as the most special year in the time that I've been working with this franchise. And I'm an original. Believe me, I was 9 years old on April 7th, 1977. And this team captivated me from day one. I don't like getting into the back and forth with people who say, "Oh, you're a homer broadcaster." Really? I've loved this team since I was 9, right? Mm-hmm. What do you expect from me? Do I want them to win every single game they play? Of course I do. To think otherwise would be silly. Yeah. But that said, to watch what we did and realize how close they were in a year where they weren't expected to do a whole lot of things to winning the World Series. I mean, they were an Andy Pages dropped baseball away from winning all of it. They were, I don't know, IKF maybe 2 steps forward, winning it all, or Rojas throwing that ball wide of home plate. There were so many things.
Way too many.
There are too
many.
Us up at night. And it's hard to recall them all because they're painful for some. Not so much for me, but for some. Only because I can't control the outcome on the field. But I'm digressing. This was the most special year I've ever had as a member of the broadcast team. I hope we get lots of them in the coming years. But that's not up to either you or to me. That's up to the organization and the players on the field.
100%. This has been my favorite year as a fan as well. Got my whole family involved, my friends. I went to a ton of games. I actually went to 11 games and they won all 11 of them. So
Wow.
some sort of good luck charm, I
Yep.
guess. But this has been the most special year. And before I let you go, I want to talk just I want some if you can give some advice. You know, you've been doing this for a long time. You moved to Edmonton to be an
Mhm.
anchor back early in your career. You worked with Hockey Night in Canada. Um, you know, what advice do you have for someone who was pursuing a career in sport media? Because it can go many different ways. You've moved across the country and now you're back
Yeah.
home. What's your advice with someone kind of putting their head and their like, going forward and in this world?
Well, you know what? At some point on one of your podcasts, you should answer that question too, because you've created a space for yourself in this environment. And the advice I would give to anybody in any business, not just broadcasting, but if you're a young person and there's something that moves you, if there's a passion that exists within you, you might want to pay a little more attention to it than you think. For example, I was raised by a hardworking man who immersed himself in the shoe industry for over 40 years. And I know my dad did not pick that industry. It picked him when he was a very young man and he needed to make a living. And he made the best of his living, but he didn't choose his living. What I did, I had the foresight as a teenager to pick my path and I never strayed from it. So if I had failed to get to, say, the position of hosting Blue Jay Central, well, at least I'd given it a shot. And I always had the idea that I could fall back and do something else. But that idea, though in the back of my mind, um, never surfaced as a necessity enough to back away from achieving my dreams. So I would say in this industry, which is so multifaceted,
Yeah.
take your best shot and make darn sure that if you decide to give up on it, you're at least content with the idea that you gave it your best shot. And if you keep those blinders on and keep moving forward, you never know what you might achieve. Um, and I tell my own kids this. I have two teenage sons. To be able to find a job, to be able to pay to do something, to be paid to do something that you love might be one of the greatest gifts you can ever create for yourself, because so many people in this country, unfortunately, get up every morning, go to work, and they're not happy doing it.
Mhm.
And I am not one of those people. I have fooled people for decades now, haven't worked a day in my life, and hope to get to a retirement age and safely say I never worked. I had a career, but I never worked. And that's how I feel sitting in my little cozy chair at Blue Jay Central every day.
Wow, I really appreciate you sharing that and thank you for that because I'm in that boat right now where I'm fully going forward with it. My parents are very supportive of me doing this and pursuing a career in sport media. I've known I wanted to do this since I was 12, and so that's kind of been my path. And I'm hoping to, yeah, just talk about sports as a career and whatever it may be. And so I appreciate you sharing that. And yeah, I live by that kind of same rule for me that if it doesn't work out, then I have to know that I put it my all and
Mm-hmm.
find a new way to make a living. But what I'm doing right now, if I can do this for the rest of my life, I know I'll be very happy. I will be very happy doing that. So, Jamie, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time and chatting with me. Huge fan of you, of Blue Jay Central, of the entire broadcast team. You guys are amazing. Everything you do. I know we didn't even get too much into you and all the amazing work that you do off camera and the way that you have helped so many people around the country. So just I really want to thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you, Jaclyn. I appreciate it. And I'll be keeping my eyes open for your advancement throughout this career that you've chosen. So keep doing the great work that you're doing.
Thank you so much, Jamie. All right, everyone, that is going to do it on today's episode. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already and leave this episode a like. Thank you all. Bye bye.